Hey there. All right. So I have continued with One Piece because apparently this series has taken over my life. And despite having like big chunky books that I want to read and had wanted to finish at least one of them first, I got like three or four other books on the go. Um, I started the next saga of One Piece and then I couldn't stop. So real briefly, before we get into those, I did continue the filler episodes, and I'm still not enjoying the anime. Maybe it's because I'm just mostly watching filler, except for big scenes. But going in real quick, you have Robin join the crew, and then the next couple filler episodes are each individual story revolving around one crew member. So you have Chopper's developing of the Rumble Ball. I liked how he was so scared of Robin and just seeing the creation of it and his first experience acting as a doctor while the Doctorine witch lady was injured. He had to take care of her. Then you got the uprising of the Navigator, which is something I really, really liked, both in that episode with Chomper and this episode was all about, there was Nami creating a map and actually working on her dream and seeing her, I guess, be a cartographer as making maps. So I enjoyed seeing that element to Nami. The next one was about Sanji, and there was an apprentice trainee at a Navy Marine ship who ended up on their ship and explained that he had wasted a bunch of curry, which was a big deal, and he had to remake it his own, and he doesn't know how. So Sanji, without actually helping him, helps him understand all the things he was absorbing while cleaning pots in the kitchen to help him make this curry, and it ends up very well. I love that for Sanji. He's still not my favorite character, but when it's revolving around food and his passion for it, I really love that aspect of his character. Next one was Usopp, and there was fireworks, and honestly, the ending was good, but I skipped half that episode. I was not a fan. And the last one of those sections was about Zoro and him just wandering around in the past, his first meeting with Johnny and, how do you pronounce his name? Yusaku? The two guys who I really do like, so I want to see them more in the future, so I'm happy to see kind of how they met. Next episode was Goat Island, which wasn't really a fan of that little side arc where I do like I appreciate that this man was a loan, like he would send out loans, he would give loans to pirates, but of course pirates don't want to pay their debts, so he would have to hunt them down, and he always wanted to be a pirate himself, but then he gets shipwrecked and he loses all his treasure, followed by the Marine Corps people coming after him for that treasure, and shows just more corruption in the Marines. And there was definitely some good fight scenes. The goats were adorable. Then there was the whole they're too cute to eat when Luffy is obsessed with food, so kind of weird there. The last one, the Rainbow Mist one, all these anime-only episodes had one little theme where Robin was always reading this book that she had gotten from the Alabasta library. And it was about going to this alternate world-ish where time doesn't pass, and it was really Peter Pan vibes and adventure, and there's treasure there from all the ships that had gotten taken in this rainbow mist. And then they end up going to this location, but then there's more time travel elements involved. I liked the ideas of it. It was just really, really slow. Yeah, so I liked how it tied into the Alabasta arc. I liked the time travel elements. I liked the Peter Pan vibes. I like the overarching story. But overall, I'm not a fan of the anime. But that anime episode ends with a ship falling from the sky, which is where we actually picked up immediately in the manga. And oh my god. Okay. Rewinding just a little bit at the end of the Alabasta arc, it is revealed that Robin had been lying through her teeth when reading that poneglyph. It did have information on there that she wasn't revealing to Crocodile, and she wasn't going to. So she had resigned herself to death, and of course Luffy came and saved her. So now she's just like, you know what, you saved me, now I'm your problem. You have to repay your debt to me because you saved me by letting me join your crew. And Luffy, being Luffy, does not care that she was the sidekick partner of the most horrible villain I have seen in this saga so far, who hurt so many people I loved, he's just like, okay. And of course, the crew is just like, nope, 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 hold on. No, you can't, no. Let's talk this over. And Luffy's just like, okay, you're joining the crew. Doesn't matter. We're good. So Robin has to win all of them over, which she does very, very quickly, with the exception of Zoro. He is definitely still hesitant of her and does not trust her. Now, when this giant ship falls from the sky, they go exploring it with some makeshift scuba diving gear, and they end up finding a map to this place called Skypiea, around the same time that Nami's log post just shoots up to the sky. So Luffy's me like, there's an island in the sky. That is awesome. I want to go. Let's go have an adventure on this sky island. And they're not quite sure how the world you get to this sky island. So instead, they get a eternal log post from some monkey guy who had just attacked them, also scavenging the area. And they go to this place, Jaya? Sure, let's go with that. Where they don't want to stay there long enough for their log post to reset because they want to be able to get to Sky Island. And I really like this element because they could just let their log post reset and just ignore that place they can't get to and just continue down the Grand Line to get to the One Piece. But that's not what they want to do. Luffy wants to have an adventure. Captain's orders said we're going to Sky Island. We're going to Sky Island. We're also introduced to this character, I think the hyena, who has like a, I don't know, 50 million bounty. He's very obsessed, not obsessed, but motivated by bounties and profit. And he hates anyone who basically has a dream. That's the old age of piracy, of hopes and dreams and adventure. He's in the new age of like brutality and money and just forcing your will on others. And I can't believe this happens. I was shocked and I loved it. This man has insulted Luffy, attacked him and Zoro, smashed a bottle over his head, put him through a wall. And what does Luffy do? When Nami pleads with, you know what, forget that I promised that, or I made you promise not to fight anyone here. Kick their ass. What does Luffy and Zoro do? Absolutely nothing. Luffy is just taking it all because this guy isn't worth his time, and you can definitely see the intentional nods back to how Shanks was introduced. This man is not worth their time. He is not worth the conflict and destruction and disruption of the peace that it would cause to fight them. So they just take it because they can. And it shows the type of man and captain that Luffy wants to be, who he's molding himself after, the characteristics and values he knows and trusts and wants to do himself, rather than fighting back as younger him would have. He knows that in this situation, Shanks wouldn't, so he doesn't. And I love seeing that restraint. I love seeing him only fight when necessary, when not to protect himself. And yes, he would fight to protect Nami or Zoro if the situation was deadly, but he knows Zoro can take it as well. So there's no need for a pointless confrontation, for a pointless fight, for him to escalate the situation. It's just going to end. And that's what happens. He leaves. They get laughed at for wanting to go to this Skypiea place because it's another dream. It doesn't exist. It's a myth, a legend. They go out and then they see this old drunk who is like, you did the right thing for not fighting back. This old drunk is apparently Blackbeard, which, side note, because so many things I have to say about that. Let's start with the fact that Shanks has been looking for Blackbeard all this time. You get him, not Shanks, Ace. Ace had been looking for Blackbeard all this time. He met up with Buggy a while back and is asking questions about him on behalf of Whitebeard for whatever Blackbeard did. Then you get the chapter covers, which I'm normally not the biggest fan of. I've been told to pay attention to them, but I love the ones where Ace is after Blackbeard and it's just like his adventures trying to find him. Love that. I can also very clearly see that he is definitely Luffy's brother for how much he eats. Then you got talk about replacing Crocodile as one of the 7 warlords, as my absolute love Mihawk shows up, along with these other 2 warlords, including some guy whose name I forget, and as well as Dual Flamingo. Looking forward to see what they are. And then another crew member of Blackbeard's have shown up to say, hey, you should make Blackbeard the seven warlord to replace Crocodile. There's just so much going on. And then there's other talk within the scope of this world of like Shanks trying to meet up with Whitebeard. So he had sent a messenger to him, and then Whitebeard, who is massive, like that character design was a choice. I'm pretty sure he gotta be part giant. Had sent a messenger to him, but Whitebeard's just like, I'm not reading your message. If he wants to talk to me, he can come see me himself, which is just incredible, like character building to see his personality there and what he values. I loved all that. So this old drunk is Blackbeard. I did not see that coming. Luffy doesn't know it, and he seems like a chill guy at first, but then of course when he realizes Luffy's bounty, he goes after him, which is another side note. But anyhow, Luffy and Zoro just got beat up. Nami's saying like, what the hell, why didn't you fight back? And they just go on because they learned about this guy named Cricket, who is also believes in El Dorado Islands and might be able to get them to the Skypiea place. So this guy's ancestor, years and years and years and years ago, 400 I think years ago, went to an island that had a city of gold, and when he returned to it with the king on an exploration, whatever the word is, the island was gone. So they made him out to be a liar, and apparently he was executed for that. I'm coming back to that theory later on. So that his ancestor has been diving all this time looking for proof of this existence of the city of gold. It must have sunk into the bottom of the ocean. There's also a house that has been cut in half right on the bank there, so cool. This man Cricket helps them along with the monkey and a bird that can only point south to get to a water stream thing that will shoot them up into the air to find Skypiea. However, while they're looking for this bird thing that they need, Hyena Buddy and his gang of pirates come and attack Cricket and steal what little treasure he did find. Now Luffy is pissed because you just attacked his friend, a man that he had partied with, eaten with, and who he valued the dream that this man had. You insulted him. And then the people realize that Luffy does not have a 35,000 whatever bounty. He has a $1 million bounty on his head, which they think is fake. He shows them that it's not. This Hyena Buddy does his best to show off, to tear down the town, to attack Luffy. And Luffy pulls a Saitama and just takes him out with one punch. There was no fight. He showed him how outclassed he was. Oh, I love that moment. I love the look in Luffy's eyes. I love what he values. And then they're like, where are you going now that you're taking this treasure that we had initially taken from someone else? And Luffy's just like, I'm going to the sky. Like, he's following his dream. He's living his best life. You guys are not stopping him. You don't have the ability to bring this man down. So, returning that little bit of gold that Cricket had found, he brings them to the water spout, and they go up to the air, and now they're in the clouds of a white sea, which you can still drown in, by the way. So, they immediately get attacked by some masked man and then saved by a knight. Before getting to a border. There's also a really cool scene where Usopp falls through and is like, hey, I can swim through this. Hey, what if it's endless? I'll go at the bottom of the cloud. So Luffy puts his rubber hand down to try to catch Usopp, and it's Robin who puts like an eye in Luffy's hand to see and find Usopp. So I really like that combination of their powers working together. Regardless, we get to Heaven's Gate, I think it is, where there is like a toll that you have to pay to get through per person, and it's a ridiculous amount, so expensive, so ridiculous. And they're just like, what if we don't pay? And it's just like, well, you'll be entering illegally, but I'm not going to stop you. That's what the little gate teller person girl says. So they're just like, all right, I guess we're entering illegally. Let's go on. And they end up at Angel Island. They make some friends. They get on a wave finder thingy, which is like a jet ski kind of looking thing. And Nami's having a blast on that while they go and discuss more about the island. They learn about dials, which is not a magic system, but a mechanic of this world and culture that everything's run on, and it's really cool. And then these, I don't know what they're called, I'm just going to refer to them as the army, show up because, hey, you entered illegally, you broke the rules, not good. While they're getting confronted by them, Nami had went to a sacred island and had learned that the group's in trouble. We learned the sacred island is a thing, And I did not realize this at the time, but whereas before everything was built on clouds that were either moldable by, like they're solid, or it was like an ocean cloud, this island is all trees and rocks and actual earth, which I should have taken note of, but I'm an idiot. So she goes, and when she learns that in order to get them out of trouble, they're going to have to pay like an exorbitant price, like 3 times, I don't know, 7 times the original fee to get in. Yeah, she just hits them with the Wayfinder, runs them over, gets in more trouble, because apparently now they're insulting the god. They're all in so much trouble. Their criminal ranking just keeps going up for every little thing they do, which eventually leads to them getting turned in as being illegally entering Skypiea and breaking the law of this god, Kermi. In Noel, I don't know how to pronounce his name. We're going to get to him. I love him. Which leads to not Usopp. No, not Sanji. Zoro, Robin, Nami, and Chomper, all on the Going Merry, get dragged off to the Sacred Island. We learn that it was the girl that they had met on the beach who had turned them in, and she's so upset because she didn't want to betray them, and she's like, I'm sorry I betrayed you, but if I didn't, then my father and I would have been killed for going against this god, and even now that I'm telling you this, I'm going to be so much trouble, like we're going to be killed for this. And the remaining crew's immediate response was, why the hell did you tell us then? They are so upset that she put herself in danger because she betrayed them and was confessing this betrayal. It just shows like the crew do not care when they are in trouble. They care when someone they view as a friend, even if they betrayed them, puts themselves in trouble for their sake. And they don't want that. So this beam of light comes down, and the girl is saved by the knight who had saved them initially. And they're like, okay, you take care of her, keep her safe, we're going to go save everyone else. So they take this boat that they have been taken to back to the Sacred Island to go save them. Let's talk about the sacrificial rock thing. So the people on the Growing Mary decide to go explore this island because they just randomly appeared at this one. Chomper is left to stay with the Going Merry and keep an eye on things. So Robin and Zoro and Nami are exploring the island, and Nami finds a house that's been cut in half. It's the second half of the one that Cricket's living in. So it's revealed, like, what obviously happened is the spurt of water had taken the other half of the island up into the sky, which makes so much sense for why the ground is ground and not clouds. And I love that this was set up earlier, because you're shown this map of Sky Island and the map of the place where Cricket lives in Jaya, whatever. And there had been a note saying that the City of Gold was in the right eye of the skull, and when you put the maps together, it looks like a skull, which was just great. So they're off exploring when Chomper is attacked by one of the Sky Guard priest people. I don't know. There's a fight going on. And he gets a whistle that the knight had given them originally, blows that, calls the knight to help defend him, but then he gets taken out too, and Chomper has to heal him up. And then meanwhile, Luffy and Zoro, no, not Zoro, Sanji and Usopp are in the new boat, and they reach a divide where there's options for trials, and they choose like the trial of balls, because of course they do. Luffy says it sounds like fun, and they get to a place and there's the balls everywhere. Some explode, some have like gas, some have flowers or snakes. Some are safe, some are not, and it takes a lot for them to beat this guy who can apparently like pretty much read their minds using this thing called mantra. All right, we then learn about the second group of people who are like a guerrilla force who are attacking the people of Skypiea. And when the old man knight guy comes around, he reveals that they were the original inhabitants of this sacred island. So they were the original residents back when it was down on Earth, I guess the Blue Sea. And when it got shot up, now the people of Skypiea have a real hard time growing things in the clouds. So they find anything that comes from the land below to be sacred and a gift from the gods. So an entire island coming up full of trees and nutrient soil, it was wonderful to them. It had to be like holy and sacred. So, of course, they run the original inhabitants off, and the original group are trying to get back to their homelands, trying to retake it. And they make a very good point to this night guy that, so you guys are actually the bad guys. And he admits, like, yeah, our ancestors did some bad things in the past, but, like, why should the present generation be the ones to pay this cost? It's sacred to us. It is important. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's important to this new generation of the original inhabitants as well. They just want to get back what was taken from their ancestors. So, of the original inhabitants of when it was down in, I'm just not saying the Blue Sea because I don't remember if it was part of Jal or not, but is a little girl, Anessa. Ness? Yeah, we'll go with that. She can sense that Luffy and them had taken down one of the guards and that the knight was also taken down during his fight. So the group who are trying to take back their land find it's a good time to attack. And one of them, Viper, starts with a W though, is leading the assault, and it goes from there. They have a really interesting power, but the god himself of this world, who we learn Karmi or god is not really a god but a title given, so the old man knight used to have this title. Why can't I say any of these words? This is what happens when I read something in a manga instead of watching the anime, because I don't hear it often enough to be able to pronounce it myself. Do I have it written down? Enel? We're gonna go with him. I really love his design. He has these symbols around him as well that just remind me of the Uchiha from Naruto, but I know it must have another meaning besides that, but I love those things around him. He has eaten of the devil fruit and got electricity powers, and he is unstoppable. He destroys, like, the invading army that are coming in to take back the land. Like, there is no hesitation. There's nothing going up against him. He gives them like 5 minutes to take all the attacks on him that they want, and it's not enough to stop him. It takes this guy using a sea prism to cut off his power, and then a reverse dial to explode and nearly kill them both. But then when they remove the sea prism, because they did not learn that you're supposed to double tap all people you're trying to kill, and like apparently with a devil fruit power, bury them with that sea prism, he's able to use his electricity powers to restart his heart, which I don't actually think would work, but we're going to let that slide. He is insane. This narcissistic man with a god complex who just humiliates everyone he comes across and brutalizes them. And you're just like, he's unstoppable. How are the Straw Hats going to stand up to him? Because when they all make it to him after being separated, like Luffy's been eaten by a snake, Chomper's on the run, Robin is investigating some Indiana Jones stuff with the City of Gold that they find and all the history and the runes. He goes up against them, minus Luffy, and he wipes them out. Gone. Devastating. There's nothing any of these Straw Hats or any of the other occupants of this island can do to stop him. And what's this man's ultimate goal? To rule over the Skypiea people as a god, right? No. He's going to rule as a god in some higher level. He's going to destroy Skypiea because humans belong on the ground, and he's going to restore a rightful order. So his intention is to pretty much kill everyone in Skypiea as he destroys it. So the girl from Angel Island runs off to warn them, and thankfully the military people got a feeling that their god's corrupt and believes her, and they start evacuating. I'm going to cut to Luffy getting out of the snake, because I understand how people feel. This is just bloated. When I was reading the comments of the last arc, they had said, like, Skypiea has some mixed reviews in terms of you love it, you hate it. I've been told it has great foreshadowing for future events, so I'm paying as close attention as I can. But my god, the number of fights. This is 3/4, maybe a half of this arc is just fight scenes. And I got a little bored with how repetitive it was becoming. I can only imagine watching the dragged out anime. Regardless, eventually Luffy shows up. And in my head, I'm like waiting for Luffy because it's obvious what's going to happen. Rubber Man versus electricity. Rubber does not conduct electricity. So this man, who has been unstoppable, who is ruling as a god, who no one can touch, finally gets punched in the face. Luffy shows him like how outclassed he is once again, because Luffy is a force of nature, and I love it. Sadly, this god guy, who had never even heard of rubber before, like it doesn't exist on Sky Island, learns that Luffy, of course, is vulnerable to sharp objects and heat. So he uses that against Luffy, and eventually has to attach a golden metal ball to Luffy's hand and send him over this arc ship that he had created to be up there to destroy the Sky Island. Nami is also up there with him, as she couldn't fight back really. But that leads me to a side point, because she did somewhat try a little bit with her new weapon, which I really, really love. Because for her weapon, she has to understand weather patterns and just like how things around nature and weather actually works. So I really love her weapon. I need it to have like a little bit of power boost. And I'm hoping that combining with dials that we get in this world will give her that power boost. So Luffy goes to the ground. It's up to Usopp and Sanji to save Nami. Sanji has no hesitations with that. Usopp's a little bit more reserved, but Usopp gets to her first, and they make a plan to jump over the ship to get away from the Sky God. Sanji, of course, saves them at the last minute, gets shocked by lightning, and reveals that he had compromised the mechanics of the ship, going to cause it to crash. So the God guy has to go stabilize the ship in order to not crash. This leads to another side point where there are no real stakes for the crew members. Because, yeah, Sanji had been like electrocuted and passed out half dead, but that same thing had happened to him earlier in the arc. And I have no at all fear that any of these Straw Hats are going to die. No fear of that at all. They'll always be fine. I fear for their emotional well-being and their mental well-being, but I don't feel any type of fear for their safety. I don't think many anime really make me feel too afraid for the main character group's safety. But for it to go on for 1,000 chapters, I would like a genuine moment of concern. But I don't want any of the Straw Hats to die, so I'm not saying I want them to die. So I don't know what I'm saying, so I'm going to continue on. Luffy, with that big golden ball still stuck to his hand, has to climb up the beanstalk thing to get to the ship to stop this god guy. And of course he does it, because it's Monkey D. Luffy, and he is unstoppable. The god guy has summoned thunder clouds and has destroyed the Angel Island place, and thankfully everyone had been evacuated, but he's creating a bigger one to destroy the entirety of all of Skypiea. And the people of Skypiea and the people who were native to the Sacred Island are praying for the true god to save them. And Monkey D. Luffy answers that call, because you do not need a god when Monkey D. Luffy is on the scene. And he swings that golden ball around, and he hits the god and rings this golden bell that had been so important for the series, for this arc, I mean. We learned about a history of the original inhabitants of Ja'al, meeting with the captain of the ship of the people who had been executed for lying, saying he found this golden city, and they had just been friends, and they overcame miscommunications, and they helped each other, and they cared for each other, and the original inhabitants had sworn to him that they will ring this bell to like bring him home, or not home, but to welcome him back. And this bell was so important to these ancestors. So Luffy had vowed to ring that bell so the descendants on the ground, Cricket and everyone down there, would hear it, and it would finally put an end to the war. And God, it did. It was an amazing end fight scene. While all the other ones felt very repetitive, I really, really loved this fight scene. Seeing Luffy go up against the god, seeing him save Skypiea, seeing him taking on the role as a god, because that's who everyone was praying to, and he's the one who could defeat this other guy, and to finally ring that bell. I loved every moment of that. So things settle down, and Robin reveals that she can read the Ponteglyph, and it has mentioned to another super weapon by a different name. So I don't know if it's the same super weapon or if it's a different one. So I don't know if there's two or if there's just one called by different names, and also making reference to this lost time in history. I really want this is my investment in the series right now. I want to know what this investment is, or what this history was, why she's after it, why she can read these symbols, and just what it all means. What happened during this gap in history that she's looking for, and what is she hoping to find? There was also a note by Gold D. Roger, and I'm very conspiratorially interested in this. I'm having flashbacks to like Vampire Diaries, where they had said like the Moonstone could break a werewolf curse, but really it couldn't. Really, the character who created this rumor had just wanted everyone to find it because he was the one who was looking for it. So, hey, I could look for it myself, but that would just cause it would just be me looking. If I say it does something different than it actually does, that everyone else is going to want it, then everyone else is going to be looking for it, and I just got to get it back from them once somebody finds it. So, like, did Gold D. Roger say, hey, my treasure's at One Piece because he's looking for One Piece, and he wants someone else to find it because he couldn't? So then he can take it back from them? Is he actually alive? Like, conspiratory brain is just like, what the hell is Gold Roger doing, writing in an ancient language that I have no idea how he knows the language of, that the message has been received and I'm carrying on, kind of thing. I don't know what's going on at all with this. Not a clue. I'm excited. Another thing I loved within this was there were a couple little gags where like Luffy gets himself in danger and the crew is just like, well, it's Luffy, he's fine. He's drowning, it's fine. He's missing, he's been eaten by a snake, it's Luffy, he's fine. While other characters freak out, like, he's drowning, go help him, oh my god. So I love those little gags. If I had to rank the Straw Hats right now, Monkey D. Luffy, God love him, is still my favorite. I love the power of friendship. I love the unstoppable force of nature. I love how much he values just everything. Second place might be Robin because A, she still terrifies me. B, I know she has ulterior motives because she hasn't even bothered to learn the names of the other crew members yet. It's just Longnose, Navigator. Are you guys all right? So she's keeping me invested in the actual plot and story because I can see whatever happens in the future is going to center most likely around whatever she's searching for along the Grand Line. Third place might actually be Chomper because I love the medic idea. I love that he's so scared. So he seems like a kid. I'm not really sure how old he is, but he seems just like a kid who is always terrified and nervous and wants to prove himself. But like he can transform into this giant monster. So like he has the power and capability of being helpful in a fight, but he feels like he can't. He feels like a scaredy cat. But then, of course, he's so valuable as a medic, so I really love that. I absolutely love Nami, and she got to get a power boost. So when that happens, she's probably going to jump above those two because I love her love of money. I love how manipulative she can be. She'll play into a situation. I'm excited for her to get a fighting power boost, and I love how that weapon that she has really is tailored to her personality. After that is Zoro. Course, because come on, he's just cool. He's also the only one who still doesn't trust Robin, so I like that. And honestly, those between Robin and Chomper and Nami and Zoro, I feel like they're just going to jump places in my favorites from moment to moment. Next is Sanji because I still love his backstory. I still love how much he values food and not wasting food and the importance of it. It's just now he's a lot of the time just a one-note character in terms of hard eyes, I'm in love, which is still annoying. It's honestly the episode of the anime that he had devoted to him about helping someone learn to cook that made me still even like him a little bit. And last place is still Usopp, not because I dislike him in any way. He is just lowest on the list because everyone else is so amazing, and he's at this point just still Usopp. So that is my take on Skypiea. I get it is not everyone's favorite, It was definitely slow and bloated at times. When we learned about the history of the original not settlers, original people of the islands, and when the guy who was lying came in, that was like an awkward place to put the information. Like, it probably could have been fit in a little bit more naturally. That actually leads me to a second thing. Why was he executed? Because he said a city of gold existed. I mean, I get he dragged the king and probably an entire armada of soldiers out looking for it, but like, the king brought an army of soldiers. Did the king know that the ponteglyph was there and was after it and was going to take, or was he just after the gold? It's implied he's probably just after the gold, but what if he was after that ancient history that everyone is so keen to either find or keep hidden? I don't know what the military wants with these ponteglyphs, if they want it at all. I'm assuming they do, because that's why Robin has her bounty, I think. And if that's the case, like, was he executed to keep its existence a secret? So if he was executed for lying, then no one will go looking for the City of Gold and this link to the ancient history? Maybe. I don't know. I'm very excited. The next one is like I think it's Water 7, which I've been told is like one of the greatest arcs in the early seasons of it, or the greatest sagas. I don't know how I'm supposed to resist reading that, because like, I got other books I need to read. I need to finish Dance of Dragons for Song of Ice and Fire. I've heard nothing but good things about Babel. I got things to read. I can't spend all my time reading One Piece manga, but that's what I'm going to end up doing. All right, I'm going to go. I will talk to you later. Bye.